Iron Sentinel, Rebellion on Novara Prime Chapter 1, First Deployment. The colossal battle station loomed against the endless canvas of space, its metal skin glistening ominously under the distant stars. Inside, a hive of activity thrived. Soldiers moved with precision through the corridors, their footfalls a synchronized march echoing off steel. For many aboard, this station, the Iron Sentinel, was a cradle of discipline and order, floating in the void with a singularity of purpose unique to humankind's militaristic ambition. I, Sergeant Windy Blackthorn, stood amidst the controlled chaos, a familiar hum of anticipation coiling itself in my chest. My squad, the Iron Wolves, were at my side, faces etched in readiness and resolve. We were preparing for deployment, a task routine in description but monumental in scope. Our mission was to secure Valtorite deposits on Novara Prime, a resource as elusive as it was precious, capable of fueling the machinery of the Legion's vast empire. "Check your gear," I barked, the authority in my voice less a demand and more a necessity. Eyes turned toward me, nodded with affirmation, and continued with the ritualistic routine of preparation. Each member knew their role intimately, practiced to the point of instinct. Corporal Lydia Karen double-checked the communal gear. Luminous diagnostics reflected off her visor as she moved with military grace. As I prepared my own equipment, my thoughts wandered briefly to Novara Prime, the barren, windswept planet pulsing beneath its inhospitable skies. It seemed to wait for us, each dust-laden gale whispering the promise of a challenge. Our superiors painted it as a desolate rock, but experience taught me there's always more beneath the surface than what reports claim. The briefing room was a stark gallery of cold light and hard angles, filled with personnel engrossed in the mission plan. We had been briefed earlier on the planet's harsh environment. Volatile weather patterns coupled with unknown opposition marked our tasks with an air of uncertainty. Threats loomed, not just from the elements, but from dissidents yearning for independence from the Legion's grip. In their eyes, justified rebellion. During the briefing, I sensed an underlying tension shadow the faces of those dressed in their Legion grays, perhaps mirroring the unease hidden beneath my stalwart exterior. The whispers of upcoming conflict seemed to thread their way through the station's metallic veins, a harbinger of trials both foreseen and mysteriously veiled. Duty, unwavering and etched into my very marrow, guided me past such niggling doubts. The Iron Wolves looked to me as both leader and bulwark, the embodiment of Legion ideals and tenacity. Loyalty was my creed, an unflinching commitment to my comrades and our mission, reflected back in my squad's unwavering eyes. After the briefing, as the Iron Wolves gathered gear and final instructions before descent, I paused, sparing a glance at the star-speckled void outside. The Iron Sentinel seemed to whisper secrets known only to those who'd embraced its cold embrace, the forgotten echoes of time harbored by countless others who'd come before. With a deep breath grounding myself in that moment, I addressed the soldiers under my care. This deployment is more than a mission. It's the safeguard of our future. We step out there knowing what's at stake, not just resources, but honor. Keep your wits sharp and your hearts steady. My words, buoyed by belief and camaraderie, swirled into the hangar's atmosphere, weaving into the fabric of metal and resolve. Actions spoke louder than words in such places, and I knew well that today's steps were but the first on a path fraught with trials. As the boarding ramp of our dropship sealed shut, I felt the slow, deliberate rise of engines beneath us, a rumble that resonated like a heartbeat. Novara Prime awaited, a canvas of barren challenges ready to reveal its unknown masterpiece. We were lines of resolve etched into the story yet to unfold, driven by duty and guided by the stars themselves. The Iron Wolves were ready. We were more than weapons in the Legion's grand design. We were its heart, one beat steady amidst the cold expanse, and this was our first step into the impending storm. Chapter 2. The dropship sliced through the atmosphere of Novara Prime with a shuddering descent, metal groaning under the weight of entry. From my seat in the craft's cramped hold, I peered out through a narrow viewport, watching as the hazy outline of our destination materialized below. Lean, rust-colored clouds swirled omnipotently, obscuring the horizon in a perpetual dance of wind and dust. The planet was alive with its tumultuous spirit. Here, We were nothing more than temporary passengers in its unyielding narrative. "Touchdown in 5, the pilot's voice crackled over comms, a calm line of static against the storm outside. Inside our armored shell, the Iron Wolves made their final preparations, the sound of checks and affirmations a comforting familiarity. Corporal Lydia Caron's eyes met mine briefly, her expression a fortress of seasoned readiness. Each soldier busied themselves with rituals honed over countless drills, tightening straps, inspecting weapons, reciting silent oaths more potent than any war cry. The moment of impact reverberated through us, a tangible reminder of Novara Prime's realities seeping into our marrow. With a grinding hiss, the ramp descended, unveiling a world at once alien and abrasive. With dust swirling around us in relentless flurries, each step forward required a concerted effort to push through nature's fierce resistance. Captain Lara Heikkinen moved to join us at the front, her presence commanding immediate attention. The wind molded her voice into sharp commands that danced around us, a symphony of strategic precision as she outlined the mission parameters once more. Despite Novara Prime's hostility, I discerned a familiar glint in her eye, one that echoed my own resolute determination. "Stay sharp," Lara emphasized, her gaze sweeping over the Iron Wolves as if marking each soul for memory's ledger. "The enemy knows this terrain better than we do. They'll test us at every turn." Her words were as much mantra as warning, setting the tone with the clarity of truth. We nodded, absorbing the gravity of what lay ahead. The tactical march into the planet's barren heart began, a rigorous journey forging bonds of necessity amidst alien desolation. Sand crunched beneath armored boots, while winds howled a dirge in lieu of melody, concealing threats within its embrace. Our path grew overrun with obstacles, and the topography's mercilessness matched only by the hastily constructed defenses of our adversaries. It wasn't long before we encountered resistance. A burst of gunfire echoed through the ravine we now traversed, a staccato greeting from the planet's defenders. Cover was sought instinctively, each soldier finding solace behind jagged rocks and crevices etched by time's incessant breath. "We return fire on my mark," I ordered, scanning our surroundings with calculated urgency. Despite the immediate danger, part of me marveled at the bravery of those facing us, volatile uncertainties shrouding their identities. Rebels, or perhaps just the desperate. Either way, they fought with tenacity that mirrored our own essence. "Sierra, flank left. Lydia, cover right. Victor, provide suppressing fire," I relayed, forging coherence amidst chaos. Our return volley thundered forth, a resounding challenge carved from lid and will. The clash of forces skewered any pretense of straightforward conquest. It was a dance of survival and determination woven amidst Novara Prime's silent spectators, the winds and the sullen earth. Minutes stretched into an unrelenting engagement as we pressed forward with grim resolve. My mind, honed by training and tempered by experience, straddled the fine line between strategic precision and instinctual adjustment. Each decision, each order, a microcosm of calculated risk and inherent trust. Eventually, the resistance wavered, their numbers thinning as our advance surged. The lull, wrenched from the chaos, offered a momentary breathing space, allowing the planet's relentless gale to reclaim dominance. As we regrouped, heedful of our surroundings, it became apparent that this was only the beginning. Novara Prime itself was the enemy's most formidable ally. We pressed onward, navigating the treacherous terrain with tempered resolve. My resolve was forged anew, realizing that even as we engaged with our visible foe, our true battle was with Novara's very soul, a terrain scorched by rebellion, its heart beating with the rhythm of tenacity. As the sun dipped low beneath the churning horizon, painting alien skies in dying embers, I couldn't help but reflect on the struggles and lessons imparted thus far. Novara Prime had shown itself to be unyielding, a sentinel of nature's raw power and silent protector to those resigned within its bounds. Each step forward drew us deeper into its tapestry, and I carried the weight of my duty upon shoulders made firm by loyalty, yet aware of the growing gravity of what lay beneath our mission's guise. The Iron Wolves, battle-tested and bound by shared purpose, walked steadfastly forward. The storm loomed eternal, an emblem of the trials yet to come, as we tread carefully on the desolation's edge. Chapter 3. Unseen Alliances. The harsh winds of Novara Prime raked against our visors, grinding dust into every crevice of our gear as we trudged across its endless wastelands. Our skirmish with the rebels had left us physically untouched, but I could feel its invisible fingers prying at the edges of my thoughts. Here on this unforgiving landscape, clarity ebbed as easily as the light skimmed beneath the clouds. Shadows seemed to linger longer, drawn to secrets buried in the sprawling dunes. The path forward was more perilous than we might have imagined, defined as much by the terrain as the uncertainty of our mission's true nature. In the deeper recesses of my mind, a conversation replayed itself, a whisper from the back of the dropship, electronic echoes bouncing within my helmet. "Lieutenant Jordan Buckley will join the next operations," Lara had informed me over the comms the night before, her voice crisp and devoid of any affection standard procedures might strip away. "Command insists his strategic oversight is imperative." I did not resent the presence of Lieutenant Buckley, but welcomed it with wariness, a caution forged in the fires of countless missions. His reputation was one of tactical brilliance, though coupled with a rigidity often at odds with the fluid dynamics of battle. It wasn't long before Jordan's arrival was heralded by the metallic clank of his boots approaching from the ship's bay, a new shadow among the iron wolves. He stood taller than expected, eyes sharp as razor wire that sought to dissect our standing orders. "Sergeant Blackthorne, I expect full compliance when it comes to engagement protocols," Buckley stated, his greeting as transactional as the shifting sands. "Efficient strategy will bring us victory, less so instinct." He spoke as if war was a game, each move calculated, each outcome predictable. It barely appreciated the chaotic ballet I understood it to be, a dance where instinct was survival's muse. "Understood, Lieutenant," I replied, masking my dissent behind a soldier's precision. As we resumed operations, navigating the labyrinth of hostile terrain, there was an uneasy symmetry to our efforts, a balance between my leadership and Buckley's unyielding pragmatism. His strategies were impeccable in theory, but out here, in Novara Prime's desert of distorted truths, conventional approaches often melded into futility. The days blurred, one into another, each skirmish a testament to the unyielding spirit of those who defied the Legion. The rebels, who initially appeared as disorganized rabble, were cohesive, their unity woven through intimate knowledge of the land. They were a force defined by determination and a deep-seated cause, a facet that began to prick at my perception of the enemy. "Sergeant, intel indicates increased rebel activity to the north," Buckley stated during one of our tactical meetings, his tone embodying empirical certainty. "We can engage and dismantle them with a well-placed strike. Minimal risk." "Minimal risk?" I questioned, pausing as if to weigh the dichotomy of strategy against reality. "We've engaged them before, and they're learning. Every movement carries consequences." I sensed Buckley's disapproval simmer beneath his placid exterior. Yet beneath the stolid veneer I caught glimpses of humanity, a man driven to prove his worth against the odds, seeking security through order amidst chaos. Our debate was abruptly halted as a new challenge emerged, not from hostile forces, but subtle whispers filtering through encrypted channels. They spoke of a rebel faction seeking Novara's independence, a cause born not of conquest but survival. Days later, during a reconnaissance mission aimed at gathering intelligence on suspected deposits, circumstances delivered us to the heart of this conflict. The rebels, emerging not as shadows of disorder, but figures of resilient purpose, met us head-on. Yet, amidst the conflict's din, my attention was caught by one who raised no weapon, but beckoned with urgency. He introduced himself as Aris, a leader among their ragtag alliance. His eyes, weathered yet resolute, spoke louder than words. "This fight, it's not just to claim resources," he asserted, dust caressing his every articulation. "The Legion knows not what it strips from this land. Valtorite powers more than machinery, it fosters life here." Hearing his truth disturbed a dormant balance within me, calling into question the motives cloaked behind directives. Could it be that our mission was not an act of salvation, but plunder veiled beneath duty's armor? As the sun dipped below the horizon, its last rays caught on worn faces and rebel banners alike, I found myself at an impasse. My loyalty to the Legion felt unsteady against the humanity of those before me. Yet as a leader imbued with purpose, my path was no longer solely to victory. It was to truths unbidden, alliances unseen, and futures undefined. Navigating the shifting sands, this convergence of conflicts demanded a deeper understanding, one where the soul of Novara Prime whispered stories written by rebels, soldiers, and the unseen hand of fate itself. As I stood amidst my squad and sworn foes, I realized the horizon before us awaited not just conquerors, but seekers of the truth's resplendent light. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. Chained Loyalties. The bleak horizon of Novara Prime stretched before us, an unwitting witness to struggles as old as time, between oppression and freedom, loyalty and betrayal. The winds, ever a harbinger of change, now carried echoes not just from past battles, but promises of future reckonings. In the days following our encounter with the rebels, the Iron Wolves found ourselves caught in an uneasy limbo between duty and conscience. Each step forward was weighted, our footprints on Novara's sands, tinged with uncertainty as the nature of our mission unfolded its veiled complexities. Captain Lara Heikkinen had become a constant presence, her leadership guiding us through storms both literal and figurative. As we strategized guidance over wrinkled maps and strained comms, I discerned a shift in her demeanor, a crack in the unyielding exterior the Legion demanded. "It's clear," Lara admitted one evening, her gaze fixed on Novara's twinkling stars, "that command isn't being entirely transparent with us. The intelligence we've been fed doesn't align with the realities we face here." Her words resonated with the unease that had shadowed me since our first skirmish on Novara's unforgiving crust. It was a subtle fracturing of faith, mutual understanding flowering amidst battle's harsh backdrop. Inside my squad, tensions were brewing. Victor Yates, my by-the-book comrade, remained steadfast to the chains of protocol, often clashing with the emerging desire for flexibility I felt tugging me further from the Legion's prescribed path. "Commander's orders are clear, Sergeant," Victor reminded me constantly, a reminder as sharp as the Valtorite shards we sought to secure. "Deviation invites chaos, and blind adherence invites disaster, Victor," I countered, striving to articulate the whirlpool within, swirling with revelation, bound by directives that no longer seemed sacrosanct. To complicate matters, Lieutenant Jordan Buckley maintained his fortress of precision, yet even he could not veil his growing unease. Our discussions, often sparked from tactical disagreements, had evolved into dialogues where simmering respects overrode strict adherence to command. "Your instincts are disrupting the equation," Buckley pointed out during a particularly contentious strategy meeting. His tone was one of frustration, yet I sensed a burgeoning realization beneath its veneer. Results could be more predictable if we adhere to established protocols. "And what of those whose futures we disrupt by following command without question?" I asked, invoking the unspoken faces of rebels and innocents caught in our trail. "Their resolve and purpose, they aren't nameless figures, Jordan." Our exchanges, sharp as the planet's biting sandstorms, though contentious, began to reveal an understanding. Buckley's seemingly rigid exterior was softening, and I could see threads of doubt weaving through his carefully calculated facade. The weight of decisions, once attuned to orders from above, now rested with those who shared this sandy perch with me. Those who, like me, sought answers more profound than directives scribbled in hastily signed briefs. One evening, as we fortified our position against another impending dust storm, the air heavy with static and residue of prior conflict, something significant transpired. Captain Heikkinen convened a meeting beneath the shelter of a camouflaged canopy, our small circle huddling against the relentless wind. The map before us was a web of battle lines, strategic targets, and logistical routes now entangled with human conscience. "Command's pressure has intensified," Lara stated, meeting each of us in turn with a steady gaze, as if etching our souls into memory. "Rebel activity and terrain complications are framing our mission more as a conquest than a peacekeeping operation." Silence followed her revelation, a void filled with the unspoken grappling of our divided loyalties. It was clearer than ever that our mission, a noble cause by Legion's decree, carried unintended consequences. "Sergeant Blackthorne," Lara continued, turning to me with a weight I was unprepared to shoulder alone. "Your instincts have brought us insights beyond the immediate battlefield. We'll need them more than ever. Command be damned." I felt the room shift into a collective understanding that our chains, shackled to loyalty by decree, needed reevaluation under the circlet of honor worn by conviction, not just duty. We will lead as necessity dictates, I responded, determination forging my resolve from the uncertainty. We protect what matters, even if we have to redefine what that means. With our commitment renewed, the Iron Wolves emerged not just soldiers of the Legion, but keepers of a higher truth hidden beneath Novara Prime's turbulent sands. As our preparations continued, a message arrived, encrypted, insisting upon urgency. Its origin unknown, its implications unmistakable. A cryptic symbol of the rebellion emblazoned across the interface. Aris's message was simple. A wheel turning in defiance, asking for dialogue unburdened by weapons. A potential alliance hovered over us like phantom smoke, inviting choices beyond the immediate conflict. In that moment, the binding chains of protocol felt a little looser, a step forward from what was toward what could be, a path not yet inscribed, but illuminated by our wary hope of understanding. The horizon beyond Novara's undulating dunes trembled with potential, and together, Iron Wolves stood ready, not for blind engagements, but for dialogue that nurtured Novara Prime's enduring spirit. Our allegiances, though challenged, remained steadfast to the truth we now sought with hearts unbound. Chapter 5. Slips beneath the surface. The wind-whipped sands of Novara Prime seemed to inhale the echoes of each fallen comrade, reverberating through the oppressive silence that followed our ambush. It had come out of nowhere, a precisely timed strike that ripped through the Iron Wolves with calculated malice, leaving us reeling amidst the wreckage of obliterated commands and misplaced trust. I crouched behind shattered cover, the world spinning around me in a kaleidoscope of dust and chaos. Beside me lay Corporal Lydia Karen, her visor cracked but eyes steadfast, scanning our surroundings as she tended to a fellow soldier's wound. The brutal realization of our vulnerability punctured the haze, our reputed invincibility exposed as fragile to the choreography of Novara's conspiracies. "Blackthorn, what's the play here?" Victor Yates barked, his normally composed demeanor fraying at the edges. Blood marred his cheek, an unwelcome testament to the battle's unforeseen ferocity. "We hold until regroup, nothing more," I ordered, gritting my teeth as fragments of our position continued to evaporate under a relentless barrage. Eyes sharp for any gaps in their offensive. The enemy was no longer lurking on the periphery, whispering promises of revolution. They were here, knee-deep in the mire, exploiting every chink in our administrative armor. It was no longer clear who held the upper hand. The lines had blurred into a tapestry of shifting loyalties and hidden motives. "Sergeant!" Lydia's voice, pressed low with urgency, interrupted my concentrated reverie. "We've got wounded, but manageable for now. Do you copy? Command hasn't sent backup." Those words, a chilling reminder of isolation in the vast machinery of war, sent threads of doubt crawling into my consciousness. What game was Command truly playing? Lives, woven into tactical deployments, seemed merely threads in a larger canvas painted by distant hands. "What's their move?" Lieutenant Jordan Buckley inquired, sliding to my side as we secluded ourselves amidst the shattered vestiges of our defense. "They draw us away, piece by piece," I replied, the realization coalescing into certainty. "The Legion expects something to give under pressure, either us or our mission directives." We were operatives and guardians, yet unwelcome strands unraveled the chain that connected us to Command. Each ambush, meticulously executed, felt less like a rebel act and more like a manipulation, an orchestrated attempt to expose weaknesses within our own ranks. "Rebels are adaptable. They didn't spring this overnight," Jordan mused, his analytical eyes probing the landscape with surgical precision. "Why such perfect timing now, unless an incitement within?" It was a revelation I was both grateful and dismayed to receive. An acknowledgement of my fears that our peril was sown from both external and internal threads. "We regroup under cover of dusk. Fortify positions. Short range only," I instructed. The winds shifted, stirring a thin veil of swirling spirits about us as dusk darkened the ridge. "Connect with Lara. Let Command know we'll rendezvous with whoever's left." Despite the determined front, the weight of leadership bore heavily upon me. I could feel the slippery sands beneath my footing, awaiting a misstep to pull us deeper into Novara's enigmatic grasp. As night consumed day and the dust storm settled into a sullen lull, only the moaning winds stood testament to the havoc wrought. We were living shadows among so many graves, an homage to bravery fallen against veiled truths. Our reconvening was solemn, tides of survival on faces educated by unyielding adversity. Captain Lara Heikkinen's arrival, shrouded in dusk's caress, was a relief. Her presence seemed to deposit a measure of control onto shifting sands, yet her expression was marred with the same turmoil I faced. Command finally broke radio silence. "They're advising complete withdrawal pending reinforcements," she reported, weariness lining her voice. "But it feels like they're either underestimating or banking too heavily on tactics we can't afford. Pulling out with the wounded, we're exposed and vulnerable. What are they hoping to achieve by that?" I asked, incredulity creeping into my words, acknowledging the gnawing sense that strategic enlightenment wasn't hampered by incompetence, but perhaps intent. As strategies were debated beneath our makeshift canopy, I felt the burning need to press deeper beneath the surface, whispered secrets piercing my conscience like needles beneath armor. Aris's message haunted my thoughts, a spectral echo weaving through corridors of clashing obligations. An unimpeded dialogue with the rebels seemed our most viable course, not just for conflict resolution but to discern perspectives obscured by Legion directives. But first, there were the wounded to attend, each life a reminder of duty's heavy toll. The Legion, beyond simple allegiance, shared our essence as both guardians and pawns. "Lara," I whispered amidst softly crackling comms providing temporary escape from immediate chaos. "Could a line to the rebels grant the insight we lack? Without lethal repercussions?" Her eyes flickered to mine, a beacon of lucidity amidst dust-clad twilight. "There's little left to lose, Windy. Desperation drives bold decisions." As station transmission twisted between static and coherent signals, I authorized the request. We put hope, however reluctant, into a wheel eternally spinning, a universe beyond confines perceived or dictated. In the calm before the next storm, shorn reality opened its arms, inviting clarity beneath armor's facade. Here, stalled in Novara Prime's embrace, we were interwoven with fate's threads, facing looming truths and night's promise of resolution. Perhaps in seeking dialogue, we would unearth not only the enemy's machinations but our own entangled loyalties. In the heart of darkness, the iron wolves prepared for revelation, the emergence of unclouded understanding from midst of obscuring tempests, revealing the slips beneath battle's surface. Chapter 6: The Rebel's Path. In the subdued coolness of Novara Prime's night, the planet's whispering winds carried with them not just the chill of the desert, but an invitation, an entreaty from those we'd once designated as enemies. As the Iron Wolves gathered in our makeshift camp, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation, a palpable tension hovering like the uncaptured cries of fallen soldiers beneath the starlit sky. Aris's message had been unequivocal: a meeting, neutral ground, a truce amidst turmoil, to discuss the possibility of alliance, or at the very least an understanding. It was a path fraught with uncertainty, yet one I found myself inexorably drawn to, as if the planet itself had forged a bond of necessity between us and its people. "Are you sure about this, Sergeant?" Corporal Lydia Karen questioned, her concern adding weight to the cold steel of our resolve. "Trusting them seems reckless," Victor Yates interjected, maintaining his stead as the anchor of protocol, his stoicism a reflection of deeply ingrained loyalty to Legion doctrine. "What guarantees are there, aside from empty promises tainted by revolt?" "These are desperate times," I responded, meeting their eyes with a steadfast gaze, fortified by determination. "A calculated risk, yes, but maybe it's the first step towards actual understanding." The Iron Wolves stood poised, ready to diverge along this uncharted path, the faint sparks of possibility weaving through the fabric of our duty-bound existence. Captain Lara Heikkinen had taken the mantle of tactical coordination, leaving me the role of envoy, a bridge between worlds defined by division. Our journey through Novara's nocturnal dunes was guided by the soft glow of our headlamps, their light swallowed greedily by the vastness of unyielding darkness. Behind us, Lieutenant Jordan Buckley's silhouette moved with deliberate grace, his footsteps echoing the contemplative shift in his own beliefs, now partially entwined with my evolving perspective. "Remember the contingencies," Buckley murmured, his voice a blend of caution and resignation to this experimental diplomacy. "The extraction route must remain clear." We approached the coordinates provided by the rebels, a secluded canyon where shadows danced playfully against the imposing cliffs. Their forms were visible now, flickers of humanity standing resolute within nature's embrace. The air was heavy, yet surprisingly still, as if the planet itself held its breath. A rebel sentry emerged from the gloom, raising a hand in cautious welcome. It was Aris, the man whose voice had resonated with sincerity and whose leadership had subtly challenged our narrative of enemy. "Welcome," Aris intoned, his demeanor far removed from the aggression witnessed in the throes of combat. "We stand here, not as foes, but as individuals seeking understanding amidst a vast misunderstanding." "We're here to listen," I affirmed, surrendering to the compelling pull of dialogue. "What's the heart of your resistance?" Aris's eyes shimmered with resolve and weariness, a leader burdened by hope and responsibility. He gestured towards the canyon walls where the wind's song whispered timeless secrets. "Novara is our home. The Valtorite sustains more than just conflict, it sustains life. Your legion seeks its harvest, perceiving only value in extraction. This clash, it threatens our survival." His words danced heavily in the air, yet the gravity of their meaning bore deeper into realization. This mission's truth was more jarring than imagined. The Valtorite's purpose transcended mere industry. It formed the keystone of Novara Prime's existence. "A choice confronted us," Aris continued, the fervor in his voice edging tangible. "Either let the Legion hollow our land in blind practice or rise to preserve continuity and identity." Images of barren wastelands flashed through my mind, a reminder of Earth's history, where consumption had often triumphed over custodianship. The Legion, I realized, perpetuated a cycle unchallenged unless voices within, the ones now standing before me, diverged from conventional paths. As Aris and I spoke, an understanding began to form, revealing the depths of our shared humanity, a mutual respect for life's inherent value and the diverse purposes it served. "What will it take?" I asked, the weight of my rank and its demands falling by the wayside, leaving just the essence of a human beseeching for lasting peace. "Promise to protect what remains, our right to existence without the specter of annihilation. Share understanding with those capable of compassion rather than domination." It was a challenge rich with complexity, yet its simplicity rang true across an arid horizon. Balance, I realized, was less a condition of victory than a mutual concession, a path traversed only by those willing to listen. As our dialogue concluded, terms of truce and cooperation ciphered in covert exchanges, I returned to my squad, flanked by Victor and Jordan, both silent witnesses to newfound promises glimmering beneath Novara's celestial canopy. Upon arrival back at base, Buckley's sigh bespoke a softened frustration. "Insight, Blackthorn, always seeking the unseen." "We found what lay beneath, Jordan," I replied, weary but resolute. "They're not just adversaries, they're caretakers compelled by necessity." "Our next steps?" queried Lydia, her curiosity grounded by the entrenched understanding of our pivot in allegiance. "Continued vigilance always," I confirmed to the Iron Wolves, witnessing in them a readiness to embrace this shift. Yet more than that, honor, empathy, and an alliance towards safeguarding Novara's heart. As we lay beneath Novara's star-speckling cloak, I contemplated the intricate weave of our responsibilities, sense of identity and capacity to bridge understanding, a journey lined with the hope that learning and growth could preserve more than mere sand and echoes. Novara Prime in that quietude awaited an uncertain dawn alongside the Iron Wolves, bound not just by duty, but by a commitment to uphold life's enduring light amidst the natural and ideological storms ahead. Chapter 7. Fractured Veil. The dawn that approached Novara Prime was rife with contradictions, its muted light filtering through veils of dust that persistently clung to the horizon. It bathed the land in hues of silent introspection, a reflection, perhaps, of the tumult within my own thoughts. Through the haze, the battle lines were blurred, defined less by tangible borders and more by the shifting allegiance of those caught in its embrace. As the Iron Wolves steeled ourselves for another day, we stood united not just in posture, but in the shared understanding gained from our clandestine meeting with Aris and his rebels. A fragile thread of trust had been drawn between former adversaries. Its strength lay not in its binding, but in the willingness to acknowledge a mutuality of purpose. Inside our encampment, tension simmered just beneath the surface, vibrating like a taut wire waiting to snap. Each soldier's eye, tinged with a newfound wariness, reflected the dualities now framing our mission. Truth and deception danced an uneasy waltz, their rhythm dictated by hidden agendas unfolding from within Terran command. While Victor Yates remained a voice of caution, his skepticism toward rebel motives had tapered to a wary respect, a shift surprising in its quiet profoundness. Our exchanges now skirted the edges of diplomacy, framed by a shared goal, the preservation of Novara's soul, a task transcending mere extraction of resources. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Jordan Buckley's strategic mind seemed preoccupied, often retreating into thought, disentangling spreadsheets of Legion orders and rebel needs. There was a growing flame of understanding in his eyes, a tentative realization that war's intricate chessboard demanded more than calculated moves. Yet it was Captain Lara Heikkinen who bore the weight of transformation most publicly. Her steady composure masked an undercurrent of dissonance, a fact I discerned in quiet moments when her gaze lingered over maps and orders with a hint of longing for clarity. I joined Lara beneath the shadows of a rock formation, our spontaneous council arranged amidst supplies and the faint hum of field generators. The air between us hung heavily with unasked questions, the wind swirling like a spectral audience to this meeting of divided loyalties. "Command insists we press forward," Lara stated, her voice steady yet oddly distant. Beyond the command structure we knew, there was a void, a canvas yet undefined. Despite our mission's evolution, their directives remain painfully unchanged. "And what remains unchanged," I added, venturing safely into the veil of suggestion, "is our lack of understanding concerning their ultimate intent." "Do you doubt them openly, Windy?" Her question hung in the space between us, unfurling with languid menace. "Doubt, no," I answered carefully, mindful of the implications. "More like uncertainty. Command's veil thickens with every ignored transmission and every faltering supply line." Lara's gaze slipped away to the horizon, her silhouette dyed in twilight's salve. Here stood a commander confronted by the harsh isolation of command, the frailty of believing solely in dictated authority. "Yet amidst this fracture, we still have a mission," she mused, her thoughts anchoring us amid infinite uncertainty. "The Valtorite must be secured if we hope to control the fallout spawned by actions beyond our influence." Acknowledging the truth, I voiced a consideration burning beneath bravado. "The enemy we know cannot solely define our path, Captain. Understanding has become our most valuable resource." Her nod was fraught with a resigned certainty, a revelation shared not just between colleagues but conspirators seeking the truth. As preparations continued for the day's skirmish, calmness descended like a muted pulse, an unwelcome interlude before storm. The fiber of our fabric strained against the contours of duty and conscience, cracks allowing devil whispers of doubt to ghost in. Between the mundane succession of tactical meetings and reactor repairs, Lydia approached, her quiet footsteps a herald of burgeoning insight. "What's your take on the new directives from command, Sergeant?" she asked, her eyes searching mine for assurance amidst the discordant signals received from above. "We adapt as always," I replied, though the words echoed hollowly. "Yet stay ever vigilant. Loyalty must still align with our understanding, newfound as it is." Her nod was thoughtful, reflecting the shift from soldier to sentient ally, aware of the humans beneath Legion trappings. In the gathering shadows of dusk, Eris's messages continued to weave like threads in an invisible loom. They confirmed not only a desire for peace, but bore witness to powers striving to maintain the status quo, an impenetrable machinery always encircling rebel liberation. The star's departure cast long shadows, the camp quieting in lulls of contemplation. Tonight's calm did little to temper the assault of questions I couldn't answer to myself or my squad. Inquiry was an equal opportunity specter. Within this fractured veil, I found solace in knowing truth remains undiscovered not by darkness itself, but from our reluctance to lift its concealing shroud. Revelations hinted at futures where soldiers, whether rebel, legion, or free, might reconcile shared existence. For now, duty still bound us as guardians, protectors of long-held allegiances, while new possibilities simmered uncomfortably in the shell left behind by shattered conventions. Thus the Iron Wolves watched the horizon, eyes trained not just to the east where morning promises, but also inward, consciousness as vast as any sky, awaiting clarity within Novara's enigmatic crucible. Chapter 8. The pale dawn crept across Novara Prime, washing the planet with muted shades of rose and gray. It painted a serene mask over the tense, living tableau beneath. In the light of emerging day, our encampment hummed with subdued anticipation, the air thick with unspoken questions and simmering resolve. Confronted with conflicting loyalties and veils of deception from within command, the Iron Wolves stood at a crossroads. Paths once clear had become entangled in truths and lies, barren landscapes where duty and doubt danced in uneasy harmony. Yet the path forward required action, not hesitation. Among us, Lieutenant Jordan Buckley stirred, his disposition marked by a remarkable shift. The once rigid lines defining his strategic thinking softened by practicality and insight. He now stood as a testament to the power of adaptation. Together, we forged a blend of his analytical prowess and my evolving instinct, a synthesis that melded order with the unpredictability of the unknown. "Sergeant Blackthorne," Buckley spoke, his tone resonating with newfound purpose as we reviewed our scant maps. "Strategically speaking, our options are expanding as much through dialogue as on the battlefield. Securing intelligence through conversation could be our strongest maneuver." I nodded, steady in the measured valley of our shared perspective. "Dialogue, then, a convergence of wills more potent than weaponry." Victor Yates, too, seemed to absorb the resonance of shifting sands beneath his stalwart exterior. A soldier molded by discipline, he now stood ready to channel that rigidity into the flexibility required to navigate this evolving landscape. Together, with Buckley and Yates at my side, we implemented tactics that rippled across the battlefield, guiding the Iron Wolves with newfound unity. We moved with precision through the dawn's glow, deploying not just weapons, but understanding. The rebels, too, had begun to recognize this shift. In our encounters, their once hostile glances were now filled with hope, an ember kindled by hesitant trust, a tangible testament to our shared battles against unseen manipulation. Each strategic deployment and encounter became an opportunity to weave the fibers of alliance more tightly. Even as battle raged, an unspoken partnership emerged, a dance of precision and intuition where neither side sought immediate victory, but rather enduring peace. As the sun reached its zenith, the dust of the battlefield rose in translucent spirals, joining the smells of conflict and earth in an ephemeral tapestry. Our focus shifted towards a tactical crescendo, where commitments made during whispered dialogues would be tested and affirmed. On the eastern horizon, the rolling dunes bore a restless kind of energy. There, our ultimate trial awaited, a stronghold fortified against time and wind, vital to both rebel aspirations and Legion directives. It was a bastion made vulnerable not just through approaching forces, but the inevitable exposure of command's deeper agendas. The Iron Wolves pressed forward, our resolve hardened and intentions clear. Flanked by Buckley's strategic prowess and Victor's evolving adaptability, we approached this convergence with more than just weapons. We carried the weight of knowledge, truth gleaned through the bravery of dialogue over gunfire. As expected, the stronghold caused manifest disruptions, an initiating volley punctuating claims disputed by both land and entrenched history. Yet it was not chaos alone. Music intruded upon the cacophony, a symphony of reconciliation, tempered by respect and proportionate response. Captain Lara Heikkinen's voice crackled over the comms, fused with a blend of urgency and conviction. "Iron Wolves, prepare for convergence maneuvers. Precision and restraint, our mission bears more than simple conquest." Her directives were born into action as rebel allies emerged from familiar terrain. Faces once scrutinized through scopes now met us in unison, a coalition driven to preserve that which command might exploit or destroy. In this pivotal moment, our unity unveiled fell upon Novara's sands as a promise fulfilled, a convergence not just of forces, but ideals. What followed was a confrontation exalted not by firepower, but by the poise of understanding. As the rebels secured their ground alongside us, the metallic hum of our weapons faded into the background, supplanted by the earnest sound of dialogue rising over dissipating conflict. For a moment, the battlefield paused in infinite juxtaposition, a realization of human longing for trust amidst entrenched division. The Iron Wolves stood firm, stalwart sentinels of a cause greater than our appointments, a cause sown from the knowledge that the truest convictions are what bind us, defining the essence of our humanity. Through the dust and fire, through battered armor and wearied faces, the dawn reclaimed its tenuous light. The orchestration of conflict ebbed into hopeful echoes, whispers of change swirling through the remnants of dust storms. In this transformation, Novara Prime promised a future sculpted by resolve, a testament to the enduring flame of unity. On this path of convergence, we pledged our fidelity not just to mission success, but a world shifting towards peace. A zeal crafted not of triumph, but a shared yearning to emerge anew, hand in hand with allies once thought enemies. As shadows drew longer, the Iron Wolves, forged from duty and purpose, stood ready to guard what we'd discovered, a truth inextricably linked with Novara itself, a testament to the light we must now illuminate. Chapter 9. Echoes of Decision. The tranquility that had settled over Novara Prime following our recent convergence was a thin veneer, fragile as the dusty film gracing the planet's endless vistas. It was the calm before the storm, a fleeting peace that both rebels and the Iron Wolves knew was destined to be pierced by the demands of command. The decision weighing heavily on me was about more than just the fighting. It was a moral crossroads, an intersection of duty and conscience. As dawn etched its way across the sands, commanding laser decibels into the rhythmic thrum of the camp, a message arrived from the far reaches of our hierarchy. Command had made their intentions brutally clear. They intended to secure the Valtorite deposits at any cost, even if it meant rendering vast swaths of Novara Prime uninhabitable. The orders were as shocking as they were inescapable, a dagger thrust deeply into everything we had fought to establish. "Sergeant Blackthorne," Buckley's voice called across our makeshift command center, anticipation lacing his timbre. "Command's directive is as anticipated. They won't delay their approach for rebel considerations." I met Buckley's gaze, the keen edge of his strategic mind humbled by the gravity of the choice presented. By now, my initial doubts had transformed into a staunch certainty forged through battle and dialogue, a path chosen not towards blind obedience, but towards preservation of life and truth. "There's a cost, Jordan," I told him, the words heavy with their brutal truth. "One the Legion hasn't accounted for. We've stood with the rebels in trust and understanding. To betray that tomorrow would shatter every fragment of hope we've painstakingly built." His analytical mind wrestled visibly with the implications. "You propose opposition to direct orders?" "Consider it a choice of conscience," I pressed, gesturing expansively toward the spirited encampment filled with rebels and soldiers sharing stories, dreams, and fears by evening fires. A choice to protect potential rather than extinguish it. Victor Yates approached then, his steps measured and armored with the stability he so often provided. His skepticism had tempered into something richer, defined not by defiance of protocol, but by commitment to a greater truth, a testament to his growth alongside us. "Are we unified in this?" he asked, his straightforward question a reflection of the crux we faced, the pivotal decision uniting our uncertain futures. Lara stood by our side, a reminder not just of leadership, but of solidarity and the strength found in shared understanding. "This is our fight, and Novara Prime is not just property to us, but purpose," she declared, talismanic in her conviction. As the Iron Wolves assembled, loyalty to the Legion started to blur with loyalty to the truth we found here. It became clear that our greatest challenge lay not in surviving another battle, but in choosing to light a candle of defiance against the monstrous ambition of command. A candle that burned for Novara, for its people, and for peace. We made the call. A somber alliance between allied rebels and the Iron Wolves willing to push against directives which sought destruction over coexistence. Encoded messages fluttered across channels, a security blanket binding us against retribution yet to come. We moved with resolve across Novara's expanses. Our unified path brought us to the Valtorite reserves, surrounded by scores of defenders whose promises joined our oaths, promises to protect, not plunder. The arrival of Terran reinforcements was predictable as the dawn, a formidable presence storming with feigned righteousness. Their mechanized might underscored the gravity of what we were to endeavor. But instead of bending, we stood firm, side by side with Aris and his people, a living shield against those who would commit unthinkable acts for gain. The rebels' faces, once defined by suspicion and where resolve, emanated strength now, an unwavering will to preserve land and legacy. As command's emissaries barked their orders while strategists growled entreaties into our ears, The Iron Wolves simply refused to follow, ears deaf to ambition's roar. "We defend life, not destroy it," Lara asserted, standing resolute at the forefront of our indomitable line. A standoff ensued, silence burgeoning under tension, an equation rewritten not by variables but by unyielding intent. Oppression met resistance and was asked a single question: what does existence mean when not shared? It was in this crucible that the echoes of decision swirled, painting the air with electric determination. Our voices, more powerful than any battalion, beckoned, tethered by a singular desire to shield what remained pure and true. In that defining moment, Novara Prime became a symbol, a testament to courage found not on the battlefield, but within. It marked a turning point, where old allegiances transformed into movements heralded by conscience and conviction, the best armor a warrior could wield. And as day fused with dusk, shimmering away in the golden promise of a tomorrow redefined, the Iron Wolves knew their path had changed, defined no longer by allegiance to command, but loyalty to those safeguarded against the specter of annihilation, a truth we couldn't deny. With the future uncertain, we stood together, rebels, once foes, now as comrades, against the coming tide, ready to forge ahead where humanity demanded resolution. In the vastness of Novara Prime, the echoes of this decision would reverberate timelessly, intertwining battle cries with whispered hopes for a lasting unity that only truth could impart. Chapter 10: Tides of Change. The fractious message from command, laden with insistence and urgency, dissolved into the ether behind us as its declaration met the unyielding resolve of the Iron Wolves. Our shared convictions spiraled up like a whirlwind, mingling with the gusts that swept the desert, carrying omens of change. From this crucible of war and commitment, I emerged carrying the understanding that the choices before us were not mere tactical responses, but declarations of what it meant to be human. With the weight of our decisions bearing down, we found solidarity in the swirls of Novara's tenacious dust storms, symbols of both turmoil and transformation. The lines drawn in the sand had become less about territorial imperatives and more about the legacies we wished to leave behind. "The Legion's arrival is imminent," Captain Lara Heikkinen intoned, voice steady, eyes glinting with the steel of poise that belied the gravity of our stance. The winds swept through, ruffling insignias and resolve alike. "We know their numbers and strength," observed Lieutenant Jordan Buckley, his fingers tracing map lines now irrelevant in the face of human compulsion. "Our defiance isn't just strategic, it's structural, a stand against systemic neglect." My heart beat with an unflagging rhythm, each thud a reminder etched in the fabric of what paths we dared to walk. The Iron Wolves had become more than just soldiers. We were now the front line of humanity's conscience. Rebels turned comrades stood with us, eyebrows knitted against the brightening horizon where Legion reinforcements would crest the verges soon. Their leader, Aris, cast a quiet glance across those allied, each soul united in shared purpose beneath a common banner forged from hope instead of domination. "The Legion will press hard. It's what they know," he cautioned, eyes filled not with fear but with fierce determination. "But resilience, us standing shoulder to shoulder, it's something they're about to learn." Confrontation was inevitable, but the imperative shifted, carrying with it a smoky aroma of determination steeped in justified rebellion. The once clear objective had become muddied with the truths laid bare through dialogue, a necessity driving us to protect Novara Prime's heart from the insatiable appetite of command's blind ambition. When the cavalry arrived, their armor gleaming beneath the relentless sun, we held our ground, our bodies defiant, knees unbent by the pressure of imperial supremacy. Our communication had already resonated beyond its initial whisper. It was now a roar, echoing against Legion walls, insisting on humanity where control once reigned. "Hold positions," I ordered calmly over the comm, our frequency buzzing with shared adrenaline. "We defend what we've chosen, not directives, but honor and life." Conversations initiated in tense conference tents had become pledges, unbreakable bonds broadcast now across distance and determination alike. Engineering a truth that transcended barriers, we infused it into actions born from words spoken between adversaries at odds and allies at arms. The first exchange between forces wasn't kinetic but verbal, a standoff of ideologies skimming the surface of negotiation. Our messages, once tentative, held the weight of consequence. In arising dialogues powered by human spirit, our former barriers waned and impossible paths unfolded with shared understanding. Why conflict when preservation offers sanctuary? Lara's voice, embodied by the wind, sailed beyond our assemblage. She faced down the towering officers of the Legion, elevating our human resolution over oppressors' pragmatism. The tension reached a silent crescendo, awaiting taut and defined, and then the tide turned. Command wavered, uncertain in the face of unyielding fraternity found not through mandates but through conviction. What stood before them was an insurrection not of might but of soul, our alliance rendering their objectives lamentably obsolete. "We withdraw," came the official reprieve, concession neither expected fully nor lightly understood, but a testament to the strength of resolve when humanity and machine-related passion find common ground. With the relinquishment of hostility came Novara's sigh, a breath released as if the planet itself exhaled relief. The landscape bore witness to change, presenting its resilience to taming attempts by Imperial reach. Our stand had rewritten the narrative. As the Legion retreated, realizing coexistence held more future and fortune than conflict, we, the Iron Wolves, along with our newfound brethren, basked in the glow of nascent peace, a beacon tempered and bright. As dusk bled into dawn, reshaping the horizon with colors no artist could convey adequately, hearts softened beneath armor, and wary eyes cast toward future uncertainty wore the assurance of calm. Visions not of foes, but of forebears to sustainable kin, where the upshot of dialogue germinated seeds of realignment, planted firmly in mutual resolve. This tide had been stemmed, marking not just an end but a commencement, one where legacy veered towards echoing humanity's boundless capacity to surpass arbitrary limits placed on truth and destiny. And so the fabric of time rippled, a tableau where choices underscored value beyond the immediate, and among the tendrils of history as it unfurled were the Iron Wolves, as ever, bastions positioned for tomorrow's order. As the stars assumed their celestial vigil, keeping dreams nurtured by dreamers alive, we acknowledged the journey just begun. Guardians not merely of a mission, but of Novara Prime spirit, a tale spun reverently from the will to illuminate grandeur beyond our stars. The tides of change continued their eternal rhythm, promising tomorrow, softened by humanity's ripple, undulating through an eternal night destined to close only with the dawn of authentic understanding. Thank you for listening to My Ghost-Writer.